And welcome to the smAsho stream, early edition. We are getting out of here early today, so we are getting in here early today to do our daily space weather. We see very low solar activity. We see coronal holes facing the Earth. We got a bunch of human health stories, so let's get into it here. Here's the sun at 193 angstroms. You see a large equatorial coronal hole facing right at the Earth. And otherwise, very low levels of solar activity. We see the 10.7 centimeter radial flux has dropped back down to 68. Let's look at the view of our local yellow dwarf in 171 angstroms. This is the last 7 hours approximately. Active region setting on the west. Some filamentary activity rising up in the northeast there. Very high latitude, located where my pointer is. Zoom in on that region. It could be something interesting to watch, as there are not a lot of features. Let's do one more view here real quick. We'll look at the rare 131 angstroms view featured in our thumbnail 2 days ago. This light blue colored view does take 5 times as many images, similar to the 94 angstroms view. All right, let's move on here as there's quite a bit of stuff to cover. Going to look at the real-time solar wind, and we're going to look at what the solar wind is made out of, which is, here's a teaser, primarily hydrogen and helium nuclei. So we see a BTBZ here that's pretty average, nothing to write home about there. Phi angle is down at 84 degrees. So there'd be no surprise to see a coronal hole magnetic connection such as here and in this area, as that, again, that coronal hole is facing right at the Earth right now. Solar wind density, 6.36 protons per cubic centimeter, and solar wind speed has just dipped in the past several hours here, down to 399 kilometers per second. Now let's look at the magnetosphere. Wait a minute. We're going to actually skip to the solar wind components section here. What's a solar wind made out of? Well, it's primarily made out of hydrogen nuclei. And those things want an electron very much. So when they reach the Van Allen belts of our planet, chemical reactions happen. So the second most common component of the solar wind are helium nuclei. Some people call those alpha particles. We have links to the description here. And those two elements making up 98% of the sun's chemical makeup, according to the article. And we're not going to get into what the sun's made out of on this video, although you may want to listen to Dr. Pierre-Marie Robitaille if you are interested in real theories about the sun's makeup. Anyway, again, links to that article are in the description. Let's look at the magnetosphere movies. We're going to look at the density and the pressure. In the event that we get a major flick in velocity, we will look at velocity also. But here's the density. Nothing too extravagant here. We do see some striations here on the southern portion, if you look at the meridional plane view. And we'll see how that affects the ionosphere momentarily. Keep in mind this view is too zoomed out to see the ionosphere. And that's 4 hours of data, courtesy of University of Michigan. Here's the pressure. Magnetotail exhibiting more pressure than the bow shock for the beginning of the movie. And it's pretty much steady as she goes there as far as the magnetosphere. Next, we'll look at ground perturbations, which are changes in the delta B here. We're talking about changes in the Earth's B field. And we see the continued evidence of two North Poles, one over Canada, one over Siberia, and the South Pole continues to migrate toward Western Australia into the Indian Ocean. Believe it or not, folks, polar excursion happening during your lifetime, during this Neo-Renaissance. Welcome to the Neo-Renaissance. It'll never be now again. Check out smAsho.org. It's about to have some stuff added. And I'll do a quick rundown of the mission. It's just assist, study, and report on the ongoing formation of a unified theory of physics to raise the awareness of the general public of the relationship between space weather and Earth effects, as some people are not aware. Also to connect and consult with media organizations, to demonstrate cutting-edge proof-of-concept solutions to problems, to publish scientific papers, 3 of which are already in the works, to assist mankind by advancing the study of predictive phenomenon, to adapt no matter what the adversity is, and to not be ossified in our beliefs, and to treat those who are with love, respect, and inclusion to the scientific discussion. It takes a while for stuff to sink in, folks, and we'll be patient. Or at least we'll behave as if we are. Check out the links in the description below this video. As we are now a Hemp Lucid affiliate, we've created a spaced out campaign specifically for our viewers. So if you're going to buy some CBD products, please check out the links in the description below the video and help support the channel by doing so that way. Check out theveloshop.net, official cycling team of the smAsho Mash channel. If you want to be on the jerseys, we are still looking for corporate sponsors. Next year is an Olympic season, by the way, and there's a lot of stuff going on. So I'm not going to get into it any further except to say that's my team. If you want to be on the jerseys, email me, smashomash@gmail.com. I'm looking to raise another $5,445 by Friday. What are you going to do with your last 6 days of spring? The solstice is on Friday, the 21st. Thanks everybody who's helping to fund the channel and our cycling. Also, if you enjoy the music, please check out soundclick.com/goldencatproductions. There's a SoundCloud page also in the links below this video. Again, 10.7 centimeter radio flux has dropped back down to 68. Very low levels. That is real solar minimum. Let's look at spaceweathernews.com to see an utterly flatlined X-ray flux. Magnetometer has got some spikes in it too, as we've had some perturbations in the solar wind. Here we see KP has just recently come up to 2. And the electron flux has come up a little bit. Still fairly low levels there. Something to keep an eye on throughout the day. And when I say eye on, the pun is intentional. No charging hazards for satellites. And F2 layer is looking quite discharged on both the day and night side. Here are the aurora forecasts. There's the Borealis, and there's the Australis. Let's move on to more stuff, such as the Gong 2. And it looks like we're going to spend a long time in a southern solar polar field environment, unless something changes, as we see nothing but South Pole charged plasma in the current sheet. Not a lot else to say about that. Let's move on to the stereo A coronagraph, just to give us some clue of if there's anything going on from the view from stereo A, which is located about 4 months behind the Earth's orbit. And there may be a little ejecta there. Let's analyze that. There's a lengthy plasma plume coming out there right at the end. If you look on the right side of the coronagraph, see that little plasma jet coming out there? That looks like a minor coronal mass ejection. That's legit. Part of that's coming down the interplanetary magnetic field. And let's take a moment to look at Solar Ham, as solarham.net conveniently has the LASCO coronagraphs right on the homepage. Let's see if we can see that on this. We are looking for halos, Earth-facing coronal mass ejections. As from the perspective of stereo A, that did appear to be at least on the Earth-facing plane. So here's the 11th. Here's the 12th. Looks like some choppy data in there. There's a 13th. There's yesterday. Nothing to really be seen there. Let's look at the C3 also. This should be the same time period, assuming all the data is being compiled appropriately. Here's the 13th. Here's the 14th. I don't really see any halos. If you do, please leave a comment. Here's the locations of the stuff in your solar system. And there's where stuff will be in 1 week. Milky Way Galaxy team for the win. Thanks for joining Kahlo Jan and Peter and Harry Wire and Wana and Mary. Cheers. It's never too early to sing. Never too early to sing. Unless you have a lousy voice, then it's always too early to sing. Check out in-the-sky.org. Make yourself a sky map if you don't know what's going on above your head. The moon is setting, followed by Jupiter, followed by Saturn, and Venus is set to rise if you get up before dawn, especially if you have a low horizon. Check it out. Let's look at cosmic ray stations, first Apatity and Barentsburg. A recent spike at Apatity in cosmic ray flux, measuring neutrons. And a downtick at Barentsburg, a precipitous and significant downtick at Barentsburg. So a little disparity there in cosmic ray flux. Not a lot of surprise for as far as that goes. I don't know what I did here. I lost my place. There we go. I think I pressed the wrong button. All right, let's head to Athens. Check out their neutron monitor. Steady as she goes at Athens. Next, Mexico City. There's the most recent 30 days there. That archive data is accessible at the Mexico City monitor. Here's the Moscow monitor. A recent downtick there. Let's look at Oulu and 2 Antarctican monitors. Here's Oulu, Finland. I would note that we are still not quite as high of a cosmic ray flux level as we were in 2010. There's DOMC Antarctica, nothing special there. And there's DOMB Antarctica, a small uptick. And we do regularly see disparities between the 2 Antarctican monitors. Let's look at a couple transients here, as we haven't looked at them for a few days. First, we'll look at Sagittarius A star, the core of the Milky Way galaxy, the massive radio source, which I am not going to call a supermassive black hole. There are the transients from Sagittarius A star. Next, we're going to look at Cygnus A, which is the second strongest radio source in the entire sky, a massive radio galaxy located over 500 million light years away, produces stronger radio signals than anything in our own galaxy. There are the transients from Cygnus A. If you're not familiar with it, please read about it. Astronomers have given it the catchy name of 3C405.0. Let's look at Cygnus X3, which is a massive X-ray binary located within our own galaxy here. Tough to measure the distance to this thing, as we are looking right down this star's Z field, consisting of a Massive radio source orbiting a Wolf-Rayet star, and we see the transients have spiked up further at Cygnus X3. I'm not going to give you any theories. I'm sorry, that's Cygnus X1, believed to be a black hole by people like Carl Sagan and Stephen Hawking. All right, there's Cygnus X1. Here's Cygnus X3. This is the Wolf-Rayet star being orbited by a massive radio source. And we see an uptick there as well. So a little bit of extra energy coming out of the Cygnus area of your sky. Let's look at the Vela pulsar here just as another interesting set of transients. And we see a continued uptick in the transients from the Vela pulsar, located in a totally different part of the sky. And let's just call it a day as far as transients go, as there is still more stuff to cover. Please follow us on Twitter if you like, if it makes it easier for you to share our videos. And thanks, subscriber, as we've gained 1 subscriber since yesterday. Also follow us on Facebook, on Instagram, some more personal stuff there. Maybe not so much space weather. Also on Gab. And lastly, on Minds. You may see our original memes, such as this one featuring the original Democratic Socialist and the man who coined the term democratic socialism. Why did he coin the term democratic socialism? Because Lenin feared that Russians would not vote for a communist. So just let that sink in. The term democratic socialism was coined by Vladimir Lenin to trick the Russian people into voting for a communist, Marxist dummy. And now he's nice and mummified. You can go visit his waxy remains and his dusty suit in some sort of a hermetically sealed glass case somewhere. Please put that thing underground, Russians. Also, please like and subscribe to the YouTube channel if you haven't already done so. Let's go to earthquakes. We see a 5.3 at Guam. Shout out Guamans. Guamulese. Guamifiers. Here's a 4.9 at Fiji at depth. Shout out Fiji. You are in the crosshairs for a larger quake at the surface. Here's a 4.8 at Vanuatu. That quake at depth also. Heads up Oceania. You're getting deep quakes. Here's a 5.1 at Puerto Madero, southern Mexico. Shout out if you're watching from Mexico or Central America. Here's a 4.6 in the same place. Looks like an aftershock. Here's a 4.6 at American Samoa. Another Oceania quake. Another 5.0 at Puerto Madero in Mexico. Another quake at Mexico. And yet another. So Mexico's rocking. Leave a comment if you've seen your mother-in-law's photograph fall off the shelf and smash on the floor. Here's a 5.6 at Indonesia, also at depth. Heads up Indonesia for a larger quake at the surface. 5.2 at the northern mid-Atlantic ridge, a place where quakes used to be rare, and now they're happening once a week. Here's a 4.8 at New Zealand. Let us know if you felt that one, New Zealand viewers, as I know we have some. 4.1 at Chile at depth. Heads up there for a larger quake at the surface. 4.7 at Wallace and Fortuna, near Fiji. 4.8 at Mayotte. African Rift Zone quake. Holla if you're viewing the video from Africa or from a different galaxy or solar system. Here's a 4.8 at Japan. 4.5 at Alaska. Located pretty far north there. Let's move on to windy.com's pressure maps. We're just going to let that play through. If you see anomalous low pressures and you've had deep quakes where you're located, heads up, as you may get a larger quake at the surface. As this plays, I'll bring out the chat and see if anybody's got anything interesting to say. as I'm sure you always do. If you're not familiar with Dr. Robitaille, let me spell it out for you. Also known as Sky Scholar, featured on our YouTube page. Watch all of his videos, as he's interested in the real physics, not the nonsense physics. Aloha Wana. If you want a song, here's one. Anyway, there's the pressure map through Monday at 7 a.m. Let's move on as there's more stuff to cover. Here's a U.S. Doppler radar. We're going to look at this heavy storm over Kansas and northern Oklahoma as they are getting hammered again. This is a serious storm, probably producing tornadic activity. Well, maybe not tornadic activity. There could be one hidden right about here on the northwest corner of that little empty space between the cells there. Tough to tell. We're not going to go too in depth into it, but we will look at pressure maps. And what the hell happened? I must have lost my NASA Ghost Link. Let me bring that back up. I need my interactive. There we go. And we're going to bring up the water vapor map here to show you this Earth spot as we typically do. Let's animate it. So if you folks are getting hammered down there, and I know you are, you'll have some idea of when stuff is going to end or begin or subside or miss you. Let me put this in the right place, and then we're going to look at the jet stream in a minute, as the northern hemisphere doesn't have a jet stream anymore. Anyway, there's that situation. Missouri, Iowa, Illinois, you're all in the crosshairs over the next few hours as this thing is going to creep to the northeast. It looks like it's trending a little bit to the east. I'm going to say an east-northeasterly path for this one. So heads up central US as you get hammered once again. Let's refresh this so I can show you what the jet stream's like in the northern hemisphere. And that's hardly a jet stream, folks. It's pretty concentrated in the southern hemisphere. It's pretty broken up down there too, though, really. And that's not even meridional jet stream flow. We've got areas in Canada here where the jet stream's going backwards. If you see the jet stream, now this is the 250 millibar winds. If you see this thing moving from east to west, as it is right in that section, look at Baffin Bay. Yeah, that's not normal. Jet stream completely broken up as the northern hemisphere's weather being controlled by convective forces instead of reliable winds. Check out lightningmaps.org if you're not familiar with it. It could save your bacon. For instance, if you're a pig farmer, don't pre-cook your pigs by getting them struck by lightning. And where is the active cell? It looks like it's right there. That's the spot right there. Emporia, it looks like you are out of the danger zone, but there's going to be some serious thunder rolling in. If anybody has any active images of those lightning strikes, please leave a comment, as those are coming in hard. Lightning strike kills 2 in Pennsylvania on Thursday. Brendan McGowan and Caitlin Rosensteel, both 18, were found dead below a large splintered tree next to a lake in Mammoth Park. If they'd been using lightningmaps.org, they might have saved themselves. Unfortunately, they were standing under a tree, which is a massive ionization pathway during a lightning storm. Links in the description to the video. Please do not get struck by lightning. Actually, let's go back to that for a minute. Let's give out some statistics. Your chances are 1 in 13,000, according to NOAA. And something I was not aware of, did you know that 9 out of every 10 people who are struck survive? Now, usually that's because of an indirect strike. Direct strikes almost always will kill you. Let's move on to volcanoes. Shivaluch. Increasing activity at Shivaluch on Kamchatka. Explosive activity producing a 15,000-foot ash plume. Tukono, 7,000-foot ash plume there, as it steadily has been doing and exploding for months. Popocatépetl, uptick at Popocatépetl. Explosive activity continues there with a 32,000-foot ash plume. And as far as Revenador goes, please don't attempt to do a front flip over Revenador, as there's no diving board on the edge of the caldera. Don't dive into magma. And that is an ass. And that is a hole in the ground. So welcome to the That is an Ass and That is a Hole in the Ground section of the video. Let's define some wildlife. Some vultures are useful. Some vultures are harmful. Enough said. Let's look up a term. Censorship. The institution or practice of censoring. The actions or practices of censors, especially censorial control exercised repressively, such as Facebook. The office, power, or term of a Roman censor. Also, exclusion from consciousness by the psychic censor. I don't know what the hell that means, but dear big tech, nobody on the internet is a particular fan of your attempts at
censorship.
While you are attempting to break the internet, we are laughing in your face and at your share prices. Human health story. Now, 2 hours a week is key dose for nature, for health and well-being. So the key dose is 2 hours a week, folks. Links in the description to the article. Please read. And I implore our viewers to get out of your comfort zone. Get out of your comfort zone and get out into nature. Do something that you suck at. It might seem like it's a major chore until you're in the middle of it, and then it will seem like you're on vacation. Minibar murder targeting unsuspecting tourists in Dominica. A total of 8 U.S. tourists have died suddenly under mysterious circumstances in the Dominican Republic, a place you should probably not go on vacation. At least 2 of them became violently ill after drinking from their hotel minibars. Links in the description. There's the latest victim. Perhaps don't head to the Dominican Republic for vacation. Used to be a good tourist spot. Maybe not anymore. Let's talk about a story about a dummy. Man called 911 because bar kicked him out and banned him for life. While officers were on their way, a man named Randy called 911 to complain about being kicked out of the bar and banned for life, police said. Let us know if you were at the bar and if this was the man producing the ruckus. 7 reasons to be highly skeptical of highly skeptical of YouTube hosts who can't speak the English language. 7 reasons to be highly skeptical of the Gulf of Oman incident, such as Pompeo lies. The U.S. empire is known to use false flags to start wars. John Bolton, warmonger, has openly endorsed lying to advance military agendas. Using false flags to start a war is an established idea in the DC swamp. U.S. State Department has already been running psyops to manipulate the public Iran narrative. Kim.com says the situation looks manufactured as hell. The pro-war U.S. media can't wait to sell this. Suggesting that the attacks were unprovoked is not really true considering the sanctions. Anyway, links to that article as well. Let's go back to censorship. As this channel's been censored, shadow banned, etc., and had social media posts outright banned. Who needs the government when big tech will censor you for free? Congratulations to Mark Zuckerberg, who has recently learned how to drink water out of a glass. Not a real fan of Facebook algorithms. I think they're kind of, I don't, not a fan. I think they sort of, you get the idea. Let's talk about how to be a hate agent, according to Facebook. Now, there's been a document leaked by one of Facebook's employees. Let's talk about how to be a hate agent. You could do it by praising, interviewing, or appearing together at an event with the, quote, wrong individual, end quote, which is subjective to Facebook's definition. Also, if you self-identify or advocate for a hate group, such as the Islamic critic Tony Robinson, or I guess if you work for ISIS, having tattoos or hate symbols or slogans, while Facebook did not specifically mention which symbols constitute hatred, it is commonly believed in the media that a cartoon frog or the OK sign may be considered hate symbols. Processing hate paraphernalia, which isn't clearly defined by Facebook either, because Facebook's censorship is subjective. They're censoring you based on your politics, folks, not based on your hate level. Also, for making statements in private, which are later made public. So apparently, Facebook is trying to spy on you even outside their own platform in order to figure out whether or not to censor you. How do you like that? Also, speaking neutrally about events, individuals, or more that are considered hateful by Facebook. So in other words, if I even comment on, quote, hateful, end quote, figures, I could get banned even by making neutral comments. So links to this article also, if you want to know all about how to become a hate agent, check out Reclaim the Net, as companies like Apple, Facebook, Google, and Twitter are trying to break the internet. There are a lot of us out there preventing them from breaking the internet because their coders are inferior to our coders. So have fun with your proprietary junkware, big tech. You will not break the internet, but if you don't change up your behavior, the internet will break you. Let's look at one more view at 94 angstroms and then get out of here as if a bank has been robbed. There's about 7 hours of solar activity, if you can call it that, at 94 angstroms. Thanks again for tuning in and leaving comments, folks. We do greatly appreciate it. And it is about that time, so thanks again for tuning in. Thanks, donors. Please visit the links in the description and help support the channel, as YouTube pays us nothing. Yes, you get to see ads, but we are not into any sort of payout territory. So please share on your social media, as we are as shadow banned as it gets. Can't seem to get to 1,400 subscribers. Don't really seem to care. Used to using other people's servers. Gonna start using our own. So thanks again for tuning in. Thanks for leaving comments, etc. Please help us support the channel in any way that you possibly can. So in any case, when you're staring at the sun, don't drink it if you drink. Stare at the sun anyway, just don't drive. And since it'll never be now again, may the solar wind be at your back and the atherosclerosis absent from your veins.